I want to start by saying that I don't have the best relationship with my mom. I have an older sister, and growing up my mom always tended to control me and tried to override any decisions I make, saying that I was young and naive and she always knew better. I cut contact with her for a few months after she tried to get involved in my marriage. My husband and I've been together for 3 years, and he has always been telling me to be more gentle with my mom. I had a miscarriage a few days ago. It's devastating and I really thought it'll get easier, but I'm still feeling excruciating pain and frustration. We were happy and excited, but all that disappeared suddenly, and it was hard for me to take because I thought everything was fine. I didn't tell anyone, especially since I'm currently dealing with some health issues. I didn't tell anyone in the family. My husband promised not to tell until I'm ready. My mom kept asking me questions and brought up my pregnancy constantly, and my answers were short. Because I didn't want her to know, since she'd call everybody and let them know. She's always like this, that's why I tend to keep things private. I decided to not visit for a couple of days, hoping she'd stop asking questions. Then I found out on FB that my mom announced my miscarriage on her page, and I didn't know about that. I was shocked. I freaked out when I started getting calls from family members, and I have no idea how many people knew about it. I was so mad to the point of shaking. Everyone kept berating me for not telling them. I called my mom and I yelled at her. She defended herself, saying that she was just looking for support and that I should have told her about it first time she asked what was wrong. I asked her who told her, and she said she had a talk with my doctor, but I shouldn't be mad because she's my mom and she had the right to know what's going on. I argued with her about getting involved in my personal life and disregarding my feelings and cutting me off guard like that. I went to the doctor and I lashed out at her for releasing my private medical information to my mom and causing me to deal with everyone asking why I was hiding my miscarriage from them, even though I was just waiting for the right time. I told my doctor that I was going to file a complaint against her the same day, since she didn't respect my privacy, and decided to give my mom information about my medical records. My mom heard and started berating me, saying it wasn't the doctor's fault and that she was a friend of hers she knew years ago, but I didn't know about it. She said that I went too far and acted like my family were strangers. She said that she's my mom and I didn't need to overreact like that. All I needed was time and space. Now I have to deal with all this stress and I'm a mess right now. My brother texted me a few minutes ago and said he wants to come over and talk to me. He was the first to call me and berated me and said that I was being hostile towards everyone for no reason. I haven't replied to his text yet, but I don't want to see anyone right now. I can't take one more word from them. Since we met, my boyfriend has been on and off of Tinder. I've been very clear that it hurts me, but he always defended it as just him wanting an ego boost. A few months ago we had a major argument about it where I threatened to leave, and I honestly thought that was going to be the end of it. Pretty naive, really. Also, I should note his ex before me left him for this very reason. I feel like an idiot for thinking he'd ever change. Today I woke up and realized he'd been using my phone and his email was logged in. I noticed he'd gotten an email from an app called Hinge. Just to give you an idea of the kind of app this is, the description read: the app that was designed to be deleted. Great. My stomach instantly dropped. I logged into it with his phone number, and he's put up profile pictures of him that I've taken when we've been on days out together. In his description he's got things like, "We'll get along if you like Chinese and have a dog. If you're silly and comfortable and overshare." He's also put in as a strict preference that he wants to be matched with Hindus/Muslims only. I'm white British. I knew something was going on yesterday but wasn't sure what. He was acting differently and it was making me so anxious. He had the nerve to tell me that I must just be hormonal? I think the worst part about it is his reaction to all of this. He heard me crying, acted concerned, and then saw me with his phone. At which point he just took it from me and went back to bed. That was about an hour ago, and the only interaction I've had with him since was him asking me to open the bathroom door. Not to see if I was okay, but because he needed to pee. I'm obviously hurt by the fact that he's on this thing, but I think I'm more shocked by his total lack of guilt or response to me being upset. I'm so angry and there's nothing I can do with it. I'm so embarrassed about the situation. I don't want to tell my family / friends how he's treated me. And I can't even talk to him about it because he's refusing to address anything's wrong. He's still in bed. I don't know what to do. He's brought my self-esteem down so much that I feel like I can't be without him, but I know I can't stay in this situation. Should I even bother trying to talk to him, or should I just leave? I've taken screenshots of everything, and initially I was going to send them to his family but thought against it. The thing is, if I just leave, there's literally zero consequences for him. He gets what he wants. He gets the freedom to go on random dates with no guilt. It just seems so unfair that I'm the one left heartbroken and he gets to party up. I got myself and my stuff together, packed it in my car and left. It felt impossible. There was a lot of stuff and I was a wreck, but I managed it in the end. Throughout the whole time, he was just in bed pretending to sleep, which made me angry more than anything. I felt like he couldn't care less. We'd been living together for 2 years, but fortunately, in September I decided to get my own student apartment. Obviously, I knew then that things weren't going well, and thank God I made that decision because now I have a place to stay. Whilst I was sat on the driveway in my car ready to leave, I got a text from him saying, "I'm not going to insult you by asking you to stay or to come back, but could you please leave the keys to the house?" I had already left them, but that last dig at me made me so mad and hurt. No apology, no goodbye, just leave the keys. I guess that's my closure. I'm sad that this shit show of a relationship has come to an end, angry that it happened the way it did, but funnily enough, I'm relieved. I can do what I want now and get on top of my self-esteem issues. I'm driving down to see my mom and the rest of the family tomorrow. I haven't seen them since Christmas and I absolutely cannot wait. The anger's still there, but I'm just going to get on with things. I absolutely cannot waste any more energy on that guy. My husband, 35 years old, does not have a car. He sold his old one to help pay for his brother's wedding. I did not agree on this, but he had this car before we got together, so it's a shared property. Besides that, I have my own car, so that did not affect me till my husband started complaining about having to commute to work and hangout places. He tried to get me to let him drive my car several times, but I stood firm and put a boundary, making him understand that my car will never be driven by him. One of the reasons why is because of how bad his driving is. His brother lives out of town. My husband asked if he could drive my car to the wedding, but I refused, but not because I'm not invited. Another story for another day, because like I said, my car is off limits. He threw a fit, calling me unreasonable to let him take public transportation because he can barely stand it for 10 minutes, let alone hours. I said it wasn't my problem, which irritated him but made him stop arguing about it. The day that he was supposed to travel out of town, I woke at 10 a.m. and couldn't find my car key. I went outside and couldn't find my car either. I was beyond pissed. I called him and like I expected, he took it and was on his way to the other town. I lost it and told him I gave him no permission to take it for a whole 5 days and said that if he won't turn around with it and come home, then I'd call the cops and report it missing. His response was, "You wouldn't dare do it cause you know what would happen." I hung up on him, then immediately called the police and told them about my situation. I did not tell them my husband took it because they'd think it's a family dispute and decide to not get involved. I just reported it missing. 2 hours later, I got a call from my husband saying he was back in town and was being held at our local police station. I went to the station and talked to the cops. My husband made a scene there, swearing over and over that I gave him permission to take it and said I was acting out of jealousy and spite because he was going to attend a wedding that I was not invited to. I took my car and went home, but he had to stay a little longer. He came home in the evening and went on a rage fit about how I created an awful situation and almost caused him to miss his brother's wedding. He called me vindictive, bitter, and a lunatic to call the police on him and try to accuse him of stealing my car. He had to leave the same day to be able to be there with his family and decided to extend his stay, and he still hasn't gotten back yet. Right now his mom and brother are blasting me for what happened and calling me spiteful. I am a 28 years old female, was named after a really obscure character from Greek mythology. My preferred nickname is taken from the end of my name. I always introduce myself with "I'm my name, but you can call me nickname." None of my co-workers in the small business we work for have ever had a problem with this before, until Megan, the niece of Jeff, one of the 2 owners, was hired. Jeff and Dave co-own the business, but Dave does the actual day-to-day running of the business. I introduced myself and my nickname as usual, but she immediately said that Bessie, not the actual name. would be a better nickname because it comes from the beginning of my name and that she liked it better. I told her I really didn't like that nickname and wouldn't answer to it and asked her to please not call me Bessie, but she insisted that it was so much prettier and that I just needed to get used to it. For the next 2 months she tried to call me Bessie, but I completely ignored her whenever she addressed me that way. Even when I knew she really needed help with something. She would call my desk phone and say, "Hey, Bessie," I would reply, "You have the wrong number, there's no Bessie here," and hang up. She then tried to get some of the employees outside the office to start calling me Bessie, but I quickly shut that down. I usually finish my work early and help them with a lot of tedious little things that aren't part of my job description, and threatened to stop helping them unless they used my preferred nickname. Friday she decided she was going to get me to respond to Bessie no matter what. We have an open office design but are at opposite ends. She started calling out Bessie in a sing-song voice over and over again to try and annoy me enough to respond. Other coworkers got annoyed, most telling her to stop and one Lisa telling me to just let her call me Bessie already. I refused and she kept calling out Bessie louder and louder, until Dave barged in. He'd been on a conference call with an important client and could hear her yelling from his office down the hall. He told her to be quiet and that if she called me Bessie one more time, he'd write her up and dock her pay. Later, Megan cornered me in the break room, called me in for getting her in trouble and called me Bessie again for good measure just as Dave was walking in to heat up his lunch. He gave her a stern look and said, "I warned you." Then he walked to HR to have her written up. Lisa is saying I'm the for never helping Megan and that, if I had been nicer or hadn't fought her so hard on the nickname, she probably would have given up on it a while ago, but because I made such a big deal out of it, it became a challenge.